the point here about how we came to live a Chabad life was the moment my father often described this moment to me. He said when he first met the Rebbe, who was at that time not yet the Rebbe.
Mhm.
So, and Chana, here perhaps you'll provide a little bit more historical context. But in, I don't remember what year it was, the Rebbe's mother was allowed passage from the Soviet Union, and she was coming from Moscow to Paris. Her
Right.
son, at that time known as a
It was
Ramash,
after the war, right?
yeah,
It
it
was
was
after
after
the
the
war.
war. Her son-in-law, I'm sorry, the Lubavitcher Rebbe's son-in-law was known as a Ramash. He
Mhm.
was at the time in New York, and he was coming from New York to
Mhm.
meet his mother, whom he hadn't seen in 18 years.
Wow.
So my father described to me how he was part of the delegation that was going to greet the Ramash upon his
Mhm.
arrival in France. They heard, though, they gathered to go meet them, this little group of men, and then they got word that the flight was delayed.
Mhm.
So they kind of dispersed, and again, I don't remember the details of that, but my father kind of hung around, he said. And at some point, he said he noticed a black taxi drive up, and with it, from it emerged the Ramash. And my father described how he was a little bit embarrassed, and he went immediately to greet him and explain that they had meant to meet him at the airport, but they heard the flight was delayed. In any case, that was his first encounter with the Rebbe, and the Rebbe asked him to be there to tell his mother, who, in the meantime, when she heard that her son wasn't yet arriving, went shopping in Paris
Oh, wow.
for, apparently, from what I heard from my grandmother, was that she went shopping for a hat. Um, because she wanted to, she was in the, fashion center of the world, fashion capital of the world.
Right.
And
Sure.
to greet her son, she wanted to be at her best. In
Wow.
any case, at
Wow.
some point later, so the Rebbe at that time had asked my father if he would greet his mother when she came back and let her know that her son had actually arrived,
Mhm.
which he said he did. He said, and again, fast forward some period of time, a few hours, until they actually met. And my father described their first encounter. He said that they
This was the Rebbe and his mother.
the Rebbe and his mother.
Right.
Apparently, she entered the room, or so it is in my mind. I don't know exactly what happened, but the Rebbe, but this I do remember my father telling me, is that the Rebbe walked towards her. He was considerably taller than she was. She was a
Mhm.
slight woman. And my father said how the Rebbe walked towards her, stopped in front of her, bent over, and laid his head on her shoulder, and stood that way for many long moments. And what
Wow.
my father said to me was, in that moment, I belonged to him.
Mhm.
So that was our birth in
Well,
Chabad.